My name is Thea Dixon. I'm 29. Last Saturday, I drove 4 hours to my family's house for dinner. I hadn't even set my bag down when my dad shoved a stack of plates into my hands. "Your brother's girlfriend will be here soon," he said. "Don't ruin this for us." I stood in the hallway holding his good china, and I didn't say a word. I've learned that words don't work in this house. Not mine, anyway. Then the front door opened. A woman stepped inside, laughing at something my brother said. She turned. Her eyes landed on me, and she froze in the doorway. What happened next changed everything I believed about my place in this family. Before I take you back to that evening, please take a moment to like and subscribe, and drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where you're listening from. Now let me take you back to 3 days before that dinner, the phone call that started it all. It's Wednesday evening, and I'm sitting on the floor of the therapy gym at Riverside Community Hospital, peeling dinosaur stickers off my scrub pants. My last patient, a 5-year-old boy named Marcus with cerebral palsy, just spent 45 minutes learning to grip a plastic spoon. He laughed twice. That's progress. That's a good day. My phone buzzes on the bench. Dad. I consider letting it ring, but I think about Mom and I pick up. Thea. No hello. No how are you. Garrett's bringing his girlfriend Saturday. I need you here by 4 o'clock to help set up. I close my eyes. Dad, it's a 4-hour drive. I have a patient until 2 o'clock. Then leave early. This is important. I want to say that Marcus is important too, that he's learning to feed himself for the first time, and canceling his session means pushing it to next week, which means his mother will spend 7 more days spooning applesauce into his mouth while he cries because he wants to do it himself. But I've had this conversation before. It ends the same way. I'll be there, I say. Good. The good plates are in a box in the garage. Pull them out and wash them. He hangs up. Doesn't ask about my day. Doesn't ask about anything. I sit there in the empty gym, phone in my hand, and I think about my mother. She died 3 years ago, pancreatic cancer, fast and merciless. The last thing she said to me, her hand thin as paper in mine, was, "Keep this family together, Thea." That's the only reason I still make this drive. Not for my father, for a promise I made to a woman who would be horrified by what her family has become. I should explain something about my family. My father, Richard Dixon, coached varsity football at Jefferson High for 30 years. Head coach, state semifinals twice. In our town, that meant something. Men bought him beers at the hardware store. Parents named their dogs after his playbook formations. When he retired 5 years ago, the local paper ran a front-page photo. Coach Dixon, arms crossed, whistle around his neck, grinning like a man who conquered something. Then it was over. No more Friday night lights. No more coach. Just Richard sitting in a recliner, scrolling through ESPN, waiting for someone to make him feel important again. That someone is my brother, Garrett. Garrett is 32, a regional sales rep for a medical equipment company. He's fine at it. He closes deals, hits quota, earns a decent living. But the way my father talks about him, you'd think he brokered peace in the Middle East. Here's the scoreboard, because my father always keeps score. My graduation from the DPT program, Doctor of Physical Therapy, 3 years of graduate school, clinical rotations that left me sleeping in my car between shifts. My father arrived 40 minutes late, sat in the back row, and spent the ceremony on his phone. Afterward, he said, "So you're done with school now? Good." 2 months later, Garrett signed his first regional account. My father threw a backyard barbecue, invited the neighbors, wore a proud dad apron he'd never once put on for me. Last Thanksgiving, I cooked my mother's entire menu from memory. The cornbread, the sweet potato casserole, the turkey brined exactly the way she taught me. No one mentioned it. Then Garrett walked in with a $30 bottle of wine, and my father held it up like a trophy. "That's my boy." My father doesn't see me. He sees a pair of hands that remind him of my mother. Saturday morning, I'm at the hospital early, finishing up patient notes before the drive. The rehab wing is quiet. Just the hum of fluorescent lights and the faint smell of hand sanitizer that I stopped noticing years ago. Priya, my colleague, leans against the doorframe of the charting room. "Family dinner again?" "Yep. You always come back looking like someone ran over your dog." "I don't have a dog." Exactly my point. Even a dog would get more appreciation. I laugh, but she's not wrong. On my way out, I pass the wall of steps. A corkboard in the hallway covered with photos of our patients taking their first independent steps after rehab. Some are standing with walkers. Some are holding a parent's hand. A few are mid-stride, caught in that split second between falling and flying. There's one near the center that always catches my eye. A girl, maybe 7, with a spray of red hair and freckles across her nose. She's beaming, both hands gripping a pair of forearm crutches, one foot lifted mid-step like she's about to take off running. I'm kneeling beside her in the photo, one hand on her back, grinning so wide my eyes are almost shut. Lily Brennan, pelvic fracture, and a mild spinal cord injury from a cycling accident. A delivery truck turned right and didn't see her. 14 months of therapy. She called the parallel bars the scary bridges and refused to touch them for the first 3 sessions. She walks on her own now. I grab my bag, check my keys, and start the 4-hour drive to my father's house. I've made this trip 11 times since Mom died. 11 dinners, 11 rounds of washing the good plates and sitting in the corner while my father talks about Garrett. The GPS says I'll arrive at 4 o'clock, right on time to start setting up. I pull into the driveway at 4:04. Garrett's truck is already here, parked in the center of the driveway, naturally, so I have to squeeze my Civic against the mailbox. The house looks the same brown shutters, same porch swing Mom picked out at a flea market in Fredericksburg, same welcome mat that says the Dixons in a font she thought was charming. I grab my overnight bag and head inside. Dad's in the kitchen arranging bottles of craft beer on the counter like a display at a trade show. He points toward the stairs without looking up. "Your room's open. Change and come help." My room. I climb the stairs, push the door open, and stop. The bed's still there, stripped to the mattress. No sheets. But everything else is different. Mom's bookshelf, the one she'd had since college, the one that held her collection of glass butterflies, 23 of them, gathered from antique shops across Virginia over 15 years, is gone. In its place sits a 65-inch flat screen mounted to the wall, a leather recliner, a tackle box, and 3 fishing rods lean in the corner. He's turning my room into a man cave. I open the dresser drawer where Mom used to keep the butterflies when she dusted. Empty. I go back downstairs. "Dad, where are Mom's butterflies?" He doesn't look up from the beer bottles. I boxed up those knickknacks. They were collecting dust. Knickknacks. That's the word he uses for 23 years of my mother's joy. Where's the box? Garage somewhere. By the stuff for the yard sale next weekend. The yard sale. He's going to sell them. My mother's glass butterflies sitting in a cardboard box between old golf clubs and a broken shop vac, tagged at $1 apiece. I open my mouth to say something, and then I hear Garrett's voice from the living room laughing, and I swallow it. The guests arrive by 5:30. Grandma Margot comes first, wheeled in by Aunt June, Mom's younger sister. Grandma's 82, sharp in the eyes but hard of hearing, and she squeezes my hand at the door like she's checking that I'm real. Aunt June pulls me into a hug that lasts a beat too long, the kind that says, "I know." Then the Pattersons, Bill and Donna, neighbors for 20 years, the couple who brought casseroles every day for a month after Mom's funeral. They still ask about me with genuine warmth, which is more than I can say for the man who raised me. Dad lines everyone up in the living room like it's a pre-game huddle. He claps Garrett on the shoulder and turns to the Pattersons. "You all know my son, regional sales rep now, just closed a deal with 3 hospitals across the state." He grins, rocking on his heels. "Chip off the old block." Then he glances at me. I'm standing by the dining table with a stack of napkins. "And this is Thea. She volunteers at a hospital down in Richmond." Bill Patterson tilts his head. "Oh, like reading to kids?" My father nods. "Something like that." I don't correct him. I've corrected him 7 times in 3 years. Each time he says the same thing. "Same thing, Thea. After a while, you stop swinging at a pitch you know he'll never throw straight." Aunt June catches my eye from across the room, her lips pressed together. She looks at me the way Mom used to, with an apology she doesn't know how to say out loud. Garrett is pouring wine for Dad. He heard every word. He knows I'm not a volunteer. He knows exactly what I do. He pours a second glass and hands it to Dad without looking at me. "Something like that," Dad says again, and waves me toward the kitchen. "Now go check the oven." The kitchen smells like roasted garlic and rosemary. I've been in here for 40 minutes checking the roast, slicing bread, arranging bruschetta on a platter that Mom bought at a craft fair in Charlottesville. The platter has a small chip on the edge. I always hold it by that side so no one sees. Garrett walks in to grab a bottle of sparkling water from the fridge. I don't turn around. "You could have corrected him," I say. "You know what I do." He twists the cap off, takes a sip. "Come on, Thea. Don't start. Not tonight. I'm not starting anything. I'm asking you to say one true sentence about me." He leans against the counter, arms crossed. For a second, he looks exactly like Dad. The posture, the angle of the jaw, the way he holds space like the room owes him rent. He's proud of me. "It's not about you." I let that land. He doesn't hear it, but I do. "It's not about you. In this house, it never is. Garrett, you sell equipment to rehabilitation departments. You've walked through PT gyms. You know what I do is not volunteering." He opens his mouth, but the doorbell cuts through the kitchen. Dad's voice booms from the living room. "That must be her. Thea, bring the appetizers." I look at the bruschetta platter, then at Garrett, then at the door. He shrugs. "Just, let's have a nice night, okay?" I pick up the platter, chipped side toward me, pretty side out. I straighten my shoulders. I walk toward the front of the house carrying a tray of food and a decision I haven't made yet. Then the front door opens. She's tall, taller than I expected. Dark hair pulled into a low bun, olive green wrap dress, a bottle of wine in one hand, and a smile that reaches her eyes. She looks kind. She looks like someone who laughs easily. Garrett steps past me and wraps his arm around her. "Everyone, this is Claire." Dad crosses the room in 2 strides, hand extended. "Welcome, welcome. We've heard so much about you." Claire shakes his hand warmly, says something polite about the house, about the smell of dinner. She turns to Grandma Margot, bends down, introduces herself at the right volume, loud enough for the hearing aids, gentle enough not to embarrass. She's good with people. I can tell immediately. Then she turns toward me. I'm standing 3 feet away holding the bruschetta platter, wearing Mom's old apron with flour on the sleeve. I must look exactly like what my father introduced me as. The help. Claire's eyes find my face. Her smile drops. Not in a rude way, not like she's upset. More like someone just punched the air out of her lungs. Her lips part. Her chin pulls back a fraction. The bottle of wine tilts slightly in her grip, and Garrett reaches over to steady it. "You okay, babe?" She doesn't answer him. She's staring at me, and I'm staring back, because I know this face. I know it from the hallway outside therapy room 3. This woman sitting in a plastic chair every Tuesday and Thursday, a paperback in her lap, sometimes reading, sometimes just staring at the wall, sometimes crying so quietly that the only sign was the wet spots on her jeans. "Thea," she whispers. The room goes still. Dad frowns. Garrett looks between us. "Thea," Dad says, "don't just stand there. Offer her something." We sit down to eat. Dad has arranged the seating. Garrett and Claire on his right, closest to the head of the table. I'm on the far left, next to Grandma Margot and across from Donna Patterson. The roast looks good. I spent 2 hours on it, brined it the way Mom taught me, with apple cider vinegar and fresh thyme. Nobody comments on the food. Nobody ever does. Dad leans back, one arm draped over Garrett's chair like he's posing for a family portrait. "So, Claire, this guy right here." He thumps Garrett's shoulder. "Regional sales rep. Just landed a 3-hospital contract last quarter. Tell her the numbers, Garrett." Garrett rattles off figures. Units, margins, territories. Claire nods, but her eyes keep drifting to me. I can feel it across the table, the way you feel someone watching you through glass. Dad's still going. "Chip off the old block. I used to tell my boys on the field, close the deal every play." Garrett took that to heart. Claire sets her fork down. "And what do you do, Thea?" The table shifts. Not physically. No one moves. But the air changes. It's the polite question every new guest asks. It's the question my father answers before I can. "She helps out at a hospital," Dad says. "Volunteers." Claire's eyebrows draw together. She looks at me. I give her a small smile, the kind that says, "Let it go," and reach for the breadbasket. "What kind of volunteering?" Claire asks. Her voice is steady, almost deliberate. Dad waves a hand. "Garrett, tell Claire about the fishing trip with Uncle Roy." The subject changes just like that. My career dismissed in under 10 seconds, replaced by a story about a largemouth bass. Under the table, Claire folds her napkin in her lap and presses her fist against her thigh. She leans toward me slightly and says very quietly, "I'd love to hear about your work later." I nod. I don't trust my voice right now. The meal continues. Dad tells 3 more stories about Garrett. High school quarterback, all-state honorable mention, the touchdown that clinched the homecoming game junior year. Each one is polished smooth from repetition, delivered with the same hand gestures, the same pauses for emphasis. He's been coaching these stories his whole life. Bill Patterson turns to me between bites. "Thea, did you play sports too?" Dad laughs. Thea was more of a bookworm. Nose always in something. I was. I was also the kid who spent Saturday mornings volunteering at the adaptive sports camp 3 towns over because I wanted to understand why some kids couldn't throw a ball. I was 14, but that doesn't fit the highlight reel. Halfway through the main course, I stand to clear the appetizer plates. Nobody else moves. Garrett reaches for his wine. Dad keeps talking. The Pattersons smile politely, unaware that they're watching a performance. Aunt June pushes her chair back. "Honey, sit down. I'll help." Dad shakes his head. "June, you're a guest. Thea's got it." June looks at me. I look at her. There's a whole conversation in that glance. 3 years of it. But she sits back down, because that's what everyone does in Richard Dixon's house. You sit when he tells you to sit. I carry the plates to the kitchen. When I come back, Claire is watching me. Not with pity, something sharper. She's tracking the pattern. Who sits? Who serves? Who gets introduced? Who gets erased? For the first time, the shame I feel isn't about my father. It's about being seen, about a stranger watching this happen in real time and knowing exactly how small I've let myself become in this house. I sit back down. Claire doesn't look away. Dessert comes out. A store-bought pie Dad picked up from the bakery, which he takes credit for choosing. I bring the plates. I pour the coffee. I'm on my feet more than I'm in my chair. Claire waits until I sit down again. Then she sets her coffee cup on the saucer, squares her shoulders, and looks directly at me. Thea, I have to ask, where exactly do you work? Which hospital? The table goes quiet. Not tense, just the pause that happens when someone asks a follow-up question nobody expected. Riverside Community, I say. In Richmond. Claire's hand stops mid-reach for the sugar. Riverside? The pediatric rehab wing? Yes. The silence thickens. Dad looks at Claire with a faint frown, like she just called an audible he didn't approve. Claire turns to Garrett. Her voice is calm, but there's a wire beneath it. You never told me your sister works at Riverside. Garrett shifts. I mentioned she works at a hospital. You said she volunteers. He doesn't answer. He picks up his fork, realizes there's nothing left to eat, and puts it back down. Dad clears his throat. Claire, can I top off your wine? She ignores him. She's still looking at Garrett, and then she turns back to me, and something in her face breaks open. Recognition and grief and gratitude all at once, colliding behind her eyes. I need to tell you all something, she says. Grandma Margot cups her ear. What's that, dear? Bill Patterson leans back. Donna folds her hands. Aunt June grips the edge of the table. My father puts down his fork, and for the first time all evening, he doesn't have a speech ready. And right there, with everyone staring at Claire, I felt my heart hammering against my ribs. I didn't know what she was about to say. I didn't know if it would change anything or make everything worse. If you've ever sat at a table where no one really sees you, where your name is just a placeholder, hit that like button right now. And subscribe if you haven't, because what Claire said next, I still can't talk about without my voice cracking. Let me continue. Claire takes a breath. She's not looking at my father anymore. She's looking at her hands folded on the table. And when she starts talking, her voice has the careful steadiness of someone who's rehearsed grief enough times to speak through it. 2 years ago, my little sister Lily was hit by a delivery truck while riding her bike. She was 6. Donna Patterson covers her mouth. Bill sets his coffee down. She fractured her pelvis. The impact compressed part of her lower spine. The doctor said she might not walk normally again. They used words like significant impairment and long-term mobility challenges. And my parents heard every one of them sitting in a hallway that smelled like floor wax. She pauses, swallows. My mom stopped sleeping. My dad stopped talking. I was in my first year teaching 2nd grade, and I drove down every Tuesday and Thursday to sit outside the therapy room while Lily screamed through her exercises. Dad shifts in his seat. He's wearing his sympathetic face, the one he uses at funerals and parent-teacher conferences. That's terrible, Claire. Thank God she's all right. Claire looks up. She's all right because of one person. The table goes still. I feel my pulse in my fingertips pressing against the edge of my coffee cup. She hasn't said my name. She hasn't connected the dots yet. Not out loud. But I know, and she knows I know. I can see it in the way her jaw tightens when she looks at me, like she's holding back a wave. Garrett glances at me. Just a flicker, quick and confused, then back at Claire. Something is turning behind his eyes. He doesn't have it yet, but he's close. The doctors gave us numbers, Claire says. She gave us hope. Claire straightens up. Her voice gains an edge. Not anger, but conviction. The kind you hear in people who've been through something dark enough to sharpen their gratitude into a blade. There was this therapist at Riverside. She worked in the pediatric rehab wing. Every session she'd get on the floor with Lily, hands and knees on the mat, face to face, eye to eye. She never stood over her, never talked down to her. I stare at my plate. My throat tightens. Lily screamed sometimes, cried so hard she'd make herself sick. And this woman would just sit there, cross-legged on the floor, and wait. She'd say, I know it hurts. We'll try again when you're ready. Every single time. Donna Patterson dabs her eye with a napkin. Aunt June is gripping her water glass so hard, her knuckles are white. She came in on her day off once. Lily had a bad night. Wouldn't eat, wouldn't talk, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling. This therapist drove in on a Saturday morning, sat on the edge of Lily's mat, and pulled out a butterfly sticker. My breath catches. I remember that morning. I remember the sticker. A monarch, orange and black with glitter wings. I'd grabbed it from the prize bin on my way in. She told Lily that butterflies don't fly on their first day either, that they have to wait and stretch and rest before their wings work. Claire's voice cracks. Lily put that sticker on her wheelchair. She wouldn't let anyone take it off. Dad is quiet. He stopped adjusting his silverware, stopped scanning the room for an opening to redirect. He's just sitting there, hands flat on the table, watching Claire like a man seeing headlights too late. Lily walked into my classroom 3 months ago, Claire says, on her own 2 feet, because of that woman. Claire stops. She looks at me, really looks. The way you look at someone when you've carried their kindness in your chest for 2 years, and suddenly they're sitting across from you holding a coffee cup in a house that doesn't deserve them. Thea, she says quietly, do you remember a little girl named Lily? Red hair, freckles, terrified of the parallel bars? Every head at the table turns to me. I set my cup down. My hand is steady, but my voice almost isn't. Lily Brennan, I say. She used to call the walking rails the scary bridges. Claire's eyes fill. Her chin trembles once, and she presses her lips together hard enough to leave a white line. That's my sister. The dining room goes airless, like someone opened a window in reverse. All the sound pulled out at once. Garrett's mouth opens, closes, opens again. No words come out. Bill Patterson looks at his wife. Donna puts her hand over his. Aunt June makes a small, broken sound, half laugh, half sob, and covers her mouth. Grandma Margot leans forward, cupping her ear. What did she say? Aunt June turns to her, voice shaking. Claire's little sister was one of Thea's patients, Mom. Thea helped her walk again. Grandma Margot stares at me for a long moment, then her hand, thin and spotted, reaches across the table and covers mine. She doesn't say anything. She just holds on. My father picks up his wine glass, puts it down, picks it up again. He looks like a man who just realized the game film he's been watching is from the wrong season. Claire turns to face him. Mr. Dixon, she says, you told me Thea volunteers. My father does what he always does when the play breaks down. He scrambles. Well, he clears his throat, adjusts his collar. It's all the same, isn't it? Hospital work. Claire's voice stays level. It's not the same, sir. Volunteering is giving your time. What Thea does is a licensed medical profession. She has a master's degree. She's wrong on the specifics, but before I can think about whether to correct her, Aunt June does it for me. Richard, she has a doctor of physical therapy. June's hands are folded in front of her, but her knuckles are still white. She told you 3 years ago. Dad's neck goes red. It starts at the collar and climbs. I know my daughter has a degree. Do you know what it's called? June asks. He doesn't answer. He reaches for the wine bottle, but it's empty. Bill Patterson is very carefully not looking at anyone. Donna has her hand pressed flat against the tablecloth, like she's bracing for turbulence. Garrett stares at the wall behind my head. He's breathing through his nose, jaw tight, the way he used to look on the sideline when Dad's play call went wrong, and he had to run it anyway. Let's not make this a thing, Dad says. He spreads his hands on the table, the peacemaker gesture, the one he used with angry parents after a losing game. We're here to welcome Claire. I am welcomed, Mr. Dixon, Claire says. And I'm grateful, but I'm sitting across from a woman who changed my family's life, and you're calling her a volunteer. Aunt June's voice, quiet but clear. She told you at Thanksgiving, Richard. You said, that's nice, and turned on the game. Dad opens his mouth. Nothing comes out. He picks up the empty bottle, realizes it's dry, and sets it down again. Claire isn't attacking. I can see that clearly, even through the fog of adrenaline humming in my ears. She's not angry. She's bewildered. The way you get when you walk into a room and find something precious sitting on the floor, kicked into a corner. Mr. Dixon, I watched your daughter work with my sister for 14 months. I sat outside that room every Tuesday and Thursday. She turns to the rest of the table, including them now. She arrived before her shift started. She stayed after. She learned Lily's favorite song so she could sing it during the hard exercises, the ones that made Lily grip the mat and bite her lip until it bled. Donna Patterson is crying openly now. Bill has his arm around her. When Lily finally stood up on her own, both feet, no crutches, no hands on the bars, Thea cried harder than any of us. Harder than my mom, harder than me. Claire's voice cracks on the last word. She pauses, pressing 2 fingers to her lips, then continues. And you're telling people she volunteers? Dad's jaw works. I didn't mean. I'm not attacking you, Claire says, and she means it. Her tone is careful, almost gentle. I'm telling you what I know. Because you clearly don't. The room holds its breath. From the far end of the table, a thin voice cuts through the silence. Grandma Margot, leaning forward in her wheelchair, one hand on the armrest, the other still covering mine. Is that what you do, Thea? She asks. Help children walk? I look at her. 82 years old, hearing fading, memory sharp as a razor. Yes, Grandma, that's what I do. She squeezes my hand. Your mother would be so proud. Grandma's words hang in the room like smoke after a candle goes out. Heavy, warm, impossible to wave away. Claire lets them settle. Then she turns to Garrett. You knew. It's not a question. You knew what she does. Garrett lifts his head. He looks like a man who's been watching the scoreboard all game and just realized he's on the wrong team. I know she works at a hospital. You sell equipment to hospitals, Garrett. You've been in rehab wings. You've seen the parallel bars, the mats, the therapy pools. You know what a pediatric PT does. He swallows. His Adam's apple bobs once. Sharp. Why didn't you ever correct your dad? The Pattersons are very still. Aunt June is watching Garrett with an expression I've never seen on her face before, somewhere between pity and fury. Garrett's voice comes out small, smaller than I've ever heard it. It was just, he pauses, easier. There it is. The confession my brother has been carrying for years, packed into one word. Easier to let Dad erase me. Easier to ride the wave than steer it. Easier to pour the wine and nod along and never once say, "Actually, Dad, she's a doctor." I look at him across the table. I'm not angry. I thought I would be, but I'm not. I'm just tired of being the cost of someone else's comfort. Easier for who, Garrett? He doesn't answer. He picks up his napkin, folds it, sets it on the table, picks it up again. Dad pushes back from his chair. The legs scrape against the hardwood, a sound that used to mean the lecture was coming. "All right," he says. "Enough. This is supposed to be a nice evening." Dad stands at the head of the table, palms flat on the wood, leaning forward the way he used to lean into halftime speeches. The posture is pure Coach Dixon, shoulders square, chin up, voice louder than the room requires. "I have always provided for this family. I coached boys into men for 30 years. I don't need a lecture at my own dinner table." Claire meets his eyes. "No one is lecturing you, Mr. Dixon." He turns to me, and there it is. The redirect. The audible he's been running my whole life. His finger jabs the air between us. "See what you've done? I asked you one thing. Don't ruin this evening. One thing." The room braces. Aunt June grips the table edge. Donna Patterson's hand finds Bill's knee. I look at my father. I look at his finger pointed at me across the same table where my mother served Thanksgiving for 26 years. And I say what I should have said the first time he shoved a stack of plates into my hands. "I haven't said a word, Dad." His mouth opens. "I set your table. I cooked your food. I carried your plates. I cleared the dishes while everyone else had coffee. I keep my voice even. No tremor. No volume. Just facts laid out like patient notes. I haven't said one word all night, and you still found a way to blame me." Silence. The kind that fills a room from the floor up, pressing against the walls. Aunt June whispers, "She's right, Richard. She hasn't said a thing." Dad stands there, hands still on the table. The coach who just watched his star play fall apart on the field. He has no audible left. It's Claire who breaks the silence. She reaches into her purse slowly, like she's not sure she should, and pulls out her phone. "I didn't plan this," she says. "I really didn't. But I want you to see something." She taps the screen a few times, then holds the phone up so the table can see. "My mom recorded this. The day Lily walked without crutches for the first time. The video is shaky. A mother's hands trembling behind the lens. A hospital hallway, fluorescent lit linoleum floor. And there's Lily, red hair in a ponytail, bare feet on the cold tile, taking one step, 2, 3. Her arms out wide for balance, her face tight with concentration. At step 4, she stumbles. A pair of hands catches her. My hands. I'm kneeling on the floor in scrubs, steadying her, saying something the microphone barely picks up. "You've got it. You've got it." Lily cries, not from pain, but from the effort of believing her own legs. She stands again. Step 5, 6, 7. The hallway erupts, nurses clapping, a janitor stopping his cart to watch, Lily's mom sobbing behind the camera, and me, in the corner of the frame, wiping my eyes with the back of my wrist, crying harder than anyone. The video ends. Claire lowers the phone. Grandma Margot is leaning so far forward her wheelchair creaks. Donna Patterson has both hands pressed to her chest. Bill is blinking fast. Aunt June is crying, not the quiet kind, the kind that shakes your shoulders. Dad is looking at the phone, at the frozen last frame, my face caught mid-sob, kneeling on a hospital floor beside a child who just did the impossible. He doesn't say a word. "That's not volunteering, Mr. Dixon," Claire says. "That's saving a child's life." I stand up, not to leave. I walk to the kitchen and start clearing the dessert plates, the way I always do. I stood there watching my father's face as that video played, and for the first time in my life, I didn't want his approval anymore. I just wanted him to see. If this story is hitting close to home, if you know what it's like to pour everything you have into something meaningful and have your own family call it nothing, leave a comment. Tell me your story. Because what I did next, I did for every person who's ever been invisible at their own family's table. Everyone moves to the living room for coffee. Everyone except me. I'm at the sink, running hot water over the plates, when Dad appears in the hallway between the kitchen and the dining room. He fills the frame the way he always does. Shoulders wide, chin forward, the stance of a man who's used to being the biggest body in any room. "Kitchen needs cleaning up," he says. I turn off the faucet. "Everyone is having coffee, Dad, and someone needs to clean up. Garrett has a guest. I'm also a guest. I drove 4 hours." He exhales through his nose, the sharp, annoyed puff that used to silence entire locker rooms. You're not a guest, Thea. You're family. Then treat me like family. He tilts his head. The words don't compute. In his framework, family and help are the same thing. At least when the family member is me. Just get the dishes done. We can talk about this later. There's nothing to talk about later. I'm asking you right now. Am I your daughter or am I your staff? Before he can answer, Claire's voice comes from behind him. She's standing in the living room doorway, coffee cup in hand, and she's heard everything. I'll help with the dishes, Thea. Dad turns. No, Claire. You sit down. You're our guest. Claire doesn't move. She holds his gaze with the patient certainty of a woman who teaches 7-year-olds for a living and has dealt with worse bluffs than this. So Thea is family, but not a guest, she says. And I'm a guest, but not family. She pauses. Where does that leave her, Mr. Dixon? Dad's mouth works. No sound. His hands drop to his sides. From the living room, I hear Grandma Margot's wheelchair creak and Aunt June's voice. That's a fair question, Richard. I dry my hands on the kitchen towel. I walk past my father, through the hallway, and into the living room where everyone is sitting with their coffee cups and their careful silence. I stand in the center of the room, not for drama, but because it's the only spot where Grandma Margot can see my face and hear my voice. I need to say something. I should have said it a long time ago. Dad follows me in. He stands by the mantel, arms crossed, jaw set, the defensive posture of a man bracing for a hit he can't block. Dad, I have driven to this house 11 times since Mom died. Every single time I cook, I clean, I set the table, I clear the plates, and I sit in a corner while you talk about Garrett. Nobody moves. Garrett is on the couch, elbows on his knees, staring at the carpet. I have a doctorate. I treat children who may never walk again. Last year, I helped 9 kids take their first independent steps. 9 families got their lives back. My voice is steady. My hands are still. 14 months of kneeling on therapy mats, coaxing children through pain. That teaches you how to stay calm when everything inside you is shaking. And every time I come home, you introduce me as a volunteer. Dad unfolds his arms. Thea, I never meant. I know you didn't mean it, Dad. I look at him. Really look. Past the coach posture, past the bluster, to the 61-year-old man underneath who lost his wife and his identity in the same 3 years and never learned how to grieve either one. That's what makes it worse. You didn't even notice. He opens his mouth, closes it. His hand moves to the mantel behind him, steadying himself on the wood. Aunt June stands. She's been sitting in the armchair by the window all evening, holding herself together with the quiet discipline of a woman who loved her sister and made a promise of her own. Richard. Her voice is soft, but carries. Marie would not have wanted this. Dad flinches at the name. He always does. Marie talked about Thea's work every time we had coffee. Every Tuesday morning for 6 years, she told me about the children. Every breakthrough, every first step, every kid who gripped Thea's hand and didn't let go. She reaches into her purse, a worn leather bag she's carried since I was a teenager, and pulls out a small notebook. Black moleskin, elastic band, dog-eared corners. She kept a notebook, June says. Dad stares at it. A notebook? She wrote down the names of every child Thea helped learn to walk. Dates, milestones, little notes in the margins. She was going to give it to Thea on her 30th birthday. June's voice breaks on the last word. She presses her fist against her chest and takes a breath. She didn't make it. She holds the notebook out to me. I take it with both hands, the way you hold something fragile that's already survived more than it should have. I open the first page. Mom's handwriting, small, slanted, the same cursive she used for grocery lists and birthday cards. Lily B. First steps today. Thea called me crying. So proud of my girl. I can't read the next line. My vision blurs. I close the notebook and press it against my chest, and I breathe, and I hold on. Dad is staring at the moleskin. His hand grips the mantle, knuckles white. He looks at it the way you look at a letter that arrived too late. Nobody speaks for a long time. Long enough for the ice in Bill Patterson's glass to crack and settle. Dad sits down, not in his recliner, the throne he usually claims, but on the ottoman beside it, lower to the ground, like a man whose legs decided for him. I didn't know she kept a notebook, he says. His voice is hoarse, stripped. Aunt June doesn't flinch. You didn't know a lot of things, Richard, because you didn't ask. He rubs his face with both hands. When they come down, his eyes are red. Not crying, not yet, maybe not ever. Just a man looking at the distance between who he thought he was and who he actually is, and realizing it's measured in years. He looks at me, mouth open, then shut, then open again. I don't know what to say. Part of me, the part that drove 4 hours and cooked his dinner and carried his plates, wants to help him, wants to feed him the right words the way I feed Marcus his exercises. Gently, patiently, one step at a time. But that's not my job tonight. You don't have to say anything tonight, Dad, but I need you to hear this. I hold the notebook against my ribs. I won't come back to a house where I'm a servant. He nods. Not agreement. Surrender. The kind of nod you give when someone tells you something you can't argue with and can't fix, and the only honest response is to stop pretending you have an answer. From across the room, Grandma Margot's voice, thin, steady, unhurried. Good girl. 2 words. The same ones she used to say when I finished my vegetables, when I tied my shoes by myself, when I graduated from every school my father forgot to celebrate. Good girl. The living room stays behind me as I walk through the kitchen and out the side door to the garage. The overhead bulb flickers twice before catching. The garage smells like motor oil and grass clippings, the same way it has since I was a kid, back when Mom would pull in here after her Saturday errands and I'd help her carry in the grocery bags. The box is where he said it would be, wedged between a broken shop vac and a set of golf clubs nobody's used in a decade. Sharpie on the side reads, MISC yard sale. My mother's entire collection reduced to a label. I pull the flaps open. 23 glass butterflies, wrapped in newspaper, packed tight. I lift one out, a blue Morpho, hand-blown, the size of my palm. Mom found it at an antique shop in Staunton the year I turned 12. She held it up to the window and said, "Look, Thea, even glass can fly if the light hits it right." I check each one, all here. Garrett appears in the garage doorway. Need help? I've got it. I pause. But thank you. He picks up the other end of the box anyway, and together we carry it to my car. We don't talk. We don't need to. I go back inside, upstairs, into the room that used to be mine, and is now a shrine to bass fishing and flat-screen football. I take the one thing that's still mine, the framed photo of Mom on the dresser, the one from the beach trip in 2009. Her laughing with her feet in the sand. Garrett is standing in the hallway when I come down, photo under my arm. Thea, don't leave like this. I'm not leaving like this. I'm leaving with Mom's things that Dad was about to sell at a yard sale. He winces, like I've touched a bruise he forgot he had. We stand in the garage, just the 2 of us. The overhead light buzzes and flickers, casting our shadows long against the concrete floor. Garrett shoves his hands in his pockets. I should have said something. I know. You should have, but you chose easy every time. He rocks on his heels, looks at the oil stain on the floor. He's our dad, Thea. He doesn't know because no one makes him learn, including you. The words land hard. I can see them hit. The slight flinch in his shoulders, the way his chin drops a fraction of an inch. You sell medical equipment, Garrett. You walk into rehab departments every week. You shake hands with therapists who do exactly what I do, and you come home and let Dad call me a volunteer. I didn't think it mattered that much. It mattered every time. He rubs the back of his neck. His eyes are red, not from tears, but from the effort of looking at something he spent years turning away from. I love you, Garrett. I say it plainly, the same way I tell my patients the truth about their recovery, without cushioning, without performance. But I won't pretend anymore. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with you using my actual job title, out loud, in front of him. He nods slowly. I'm sorry, Thea. I know you are. Now prove it. I step forward and wrap my arms around him. A quick, tight hug, the kind that says, I mean this, and I'm leaving now. He hugs back harder than I expected. His chin rests on top of my head for 1 second, the way it used to when we were kids, and he was tall, and I was small, and neither of us knew that growing up would mean growing apart. I let go. I walk to my car. Claire follows me out to the driveway. The porch light throws a yellow circle on the gravel, and beyond it, the Virginia night is wide and dark and full of crickets. Thea. She stops a few feet from my car, arms folded across her chest. I had no idea. Garrett never told me any of this. He probably didn't think there was anything to tell. She shakes her head slowly. You're wrong about that. He knew. He just didn't want to look at it. I open the driver's side door and toss my bag onto the passenger seat. The box of butterflies is in the back, buckled into place with the seatbelt, because I don't trust the curves on Route 29. Lily asks about you, Claire says. She calls you the butterfly lady. I laugh, the first real laugh all night, the kind that loosens something in your chest. She told her whole class about you, stood up during show and tell with her crutches and said, this lady taught me how to be brave, and she smells like hand sanitizer, and she has the best stickers. My eyes sting. I blink hard and look at the stars. You changed my sister's life, Thea. You changed mine too. I needed you to know that someone sees what you do. Thank you, Claire. My voice is thick. For seeing me. She steps forward and hugs me. Not the quick kind I gave Garrett, but the kind where you press your cheek against someone's shoulder and hold on, because you both know this moment is a hinge, the before and after pivot of something important. When she pulls back, she says, "I'm going to have a long talk with Garrett tonight. Go easy on him. He's not the problem. He's the symptom." She nods. "Drive safe." I get in the car. The butterflies catch the dome light. 23 small fires in the rearview mirror. 4 hours on a dark highway. No radio. The only sound is the hum of tires on asphalt and the faint rattle of newspaper-wrapped glass in the box behind me. I drive through small towns with closed gas stations and blinking yellow lights, past churches with marquee signs that say things like, "God's love isn't earned," and "Grace isn't a trophy." Past the exit for Fredericksburg, where Mom and I spent a Saturday afternoon once, just the two of us, eating peach cobbler at a diner and browsing antique shops until my feet hurt. At a red light somewhere outside Ashland, I reach over to the passenger seat. The moleskin notebook sits on top of my bag. I open it carefully, one hand on the wheel, one on the page, and flip to the last entry. Aiden M., learning to hold a spoon. Thea says he laughed today. January 14th. January 14th, 3 weeks before she died. 3 weeks. She was in a hospital bed with a morphine drip and a body that was shutting down organ by organ, and she was writing in this notebook. She was still keeping track of my patients, still paying attention, still proud. I close the notebook and press it against my chest. The light turns green. A car behind me honks. I wipe my face with the heel of my hand and drive. When I get home, my apartment, the one-bedroom in Richmond with the kitchen window that faces east, I carry the box of butterflies inside first. I set them on the windowsill, one by one, spacing them the way Mom used to. The street light catches the glass, and for a moment, the whole room fills with fractured light. 23 butterflies lined up like a chorus. She saw me every single day, even when I didn't know it. 3 days later, my phone rings while I'm charting notes between patients. Garrett's name on the screen. I almost let it go to voicemail, old habit, but something makes me pick up. His voice sounds different. Stripped of the salesman polish, the easy confidence, the big brother breeziness, he sounds like a man who's been awake too long, thinking about things he spent years not thinking about. "Claire and I talked," he says. "A lot." "Okay." "She showed me some things I didn't want to see, about how I've been, about what I let happen." I sit on the bench in the therapy gym, Marcus's session notes open on my lap. "What did you do?" "I told Dad. I told him you're a doctor of physical therapy." I used those exact words. "What did he say?" Garrett exhales. He said, "I know," but the way he said it, like he was hearing it for the first time and pretending he wasn't. That sounds right. That sounds exactly like Richard Dixon. I also told him the yard sale is off. Mom's things stay. My grip tightens on the phone. "Thank you. I'm not doing it for thanks, Thea. I'm doing it because Claire said something last night that I can't stop hearing." He pauses. "She said, if you can't stand up for your own sister, you can't stand up for anyone." I close my eyes. In the gym behind me, I hear Priya guiding a patient through ankle exercises, the rhythmic count, the encouraging murmur. "It's a start, Garrett. I know it's not enough. No, but it's a start." We hang up. I sit there for a minute holding the phone, looking at the wall of steps across the hallway. All those children, all those first moments, not healed, but a crack in the wall. 2 weeks pass. Dad doesn't call. I don't call. The silence sits between us like a room neither of us knows how to enter. I'm okay with it. For the first time in 3 years, the silence isn't painful. It's a boundary, solid and clear, and I don't owe anyone an apology for building it. Aunt June calls me on a Tuesday evening. Her voice is warm with that particular gentleness she uses when she's about to say something important and doesn't want to spook me. "He's been quiet," she says. "Doesn't talk about the dinner, goes to the hardware store, comes home, watches TV. That's pretty much his routine anyway. Except he's reading the notebook." I stop stirring the soup on my stove. "What?" "I stopped by to bring him a casserole last Thursday. The moleskin was open on the kitchen table. He was sitting there with his reading glasses on, just going through the pages. He could have been looking for something. He had a Post-it pad next to it. He asked me what DPT stands for. I told him. He wrote it down." I lean against the counter. The soup bubbles. Outside the kitchen window, the glass butterflies glow orange in the sunset. "That's something," I say. "It's not enough," June says, "but it's something." She's right. He hasn't called. He hasn't apologized. He may never say the words I need to hear, but he's sitting at his kitchen table reading my mother's handwriting, learning the name of my degree from a Post-it note because he never once listened when I told him myself. That's not redemption. That's not a Hallmark movie ending. But it's a 61-year-old man alone in a house, holding a dead woman's notebook, finally paying attention. I can work with that. Monday morning. The rehab wing is bright with early sun, and the hallway smells like antiseptic and fresh coffee from the nurse's station. I stop at the wall of steps on my way to the gym. I've passed this board 1,000 times, but today I stand still. I look at the photos, the children mid-stride, the parents clutching each other in the background, the therapists kneeling on mats with their arms outstretched, ready to catch. I find Lily's photo, red hair, freckles, crutches, my hand on her back, both of us grinning. It's not just a photo anymore. It's evidence, not the legal kind, the human kind. Proof that I was here, that I did this, that it mattered. Priya catches me staring. You okay? How was the family dinner? I turn to her. Different. She raises an eyebrow but doesn't push. Priya's good like that. My first patient of the day is a new admit, a 4-year-old named Oliver with a spinal cord injury from a car accident. His chart says he hasn't spoken a full sentence since the ER. His mother stands outside the glass door, arms crossed tight, crying the silent, practiced kind of tears that means she's been doing it for weeks. I kneel down on the mat. Oliver sits in his wheelchair, gripping the armrests, staring at me with enormous brown eyes. He doesn't trust me. He shouldn't yet. Trust is earned on this floor one session at a time. Hey, buddy. I keep my voice low, the same pitch I use for all of them. Calm, steady, no performance. We're going to take it slow, okay? No rushing. He watches me, doesn't nod, doesn't look away. This is who I am, not because my father says so, not despite my father not saying so. Just this, the mat, the child, the work, the rest is noise. A month later, I find a pale pink envelope in my work mailbox, the kind with a butterfly sticker sealing the flap. No return address. Just my name printed in careful, wobbly handwriting that leans to the right the way children's letters do when they're concentrating so hard their tongue sticks out. I open it at my desk, coffee going cold beside my keyboard. Inside is a card, homemade, construction paper folded in half. On the front, 2 figures drawn in crayon, a tall one with brown hair and a small one with red. They're holding hands, standing on what looks like a bridge. The parallel bars drawn as 2 long lines across the page. Under the bridge, in green crayon, is grass. Above it, a butterfly with orange glitter wings. I open the card. Dear Butterfly Lady, I ran in gym class today. I didn't fall. My teacher said I was fast. I don't know if I'm fast, but I didn't fall, and that's the same thing. Thank you for teaching me how to be brave. Love, Lily. Tucked behind the card is a photo printed on regular paper, slightly blurry, of Lily running across a school field, red hair streaming behind her, arms pumping, mouth wide open in a laugh. I pin the card to the wall above my desk, right next to the framed photo of Mom at the beach, the 2 of them, side by side. The woman who always saw me and the child who proved my work was real. Priya walks by, glances in. New decoration? Old reminder. She smiles and keeps moving. I sit there for a while, looking at the card and the photo and the way the morning light falls across my desk. Then I open Oliver's chart, pick up my pen, and get back to work. 6 weeks after the dinner, my phone rings at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm brushing my teeth and I almost don't look, but I do. Dad. I spit, rinse, and pick up. Hello? A long pause. So long I check the screen to see if the call dropped. Thea. His voice is rough. Morning rough or up all night rough, I can't tell. Garrett told me you're not coming for the 4th. That's right. Another pause. I hear him breathing. I hear the kitchen clock he's had since 1998, the one with the base on the face, ticking in the background. Is there anything I can do? 5 words from a man who has spent 30 years giving orders, not asking questions. 5 words that cost him something. Yes, I say. Next time you introduce me, say, this is my daughter Thea. She's a pediatric rehabilitation specialist. That's it. That's all I've ever asked. The clock ticks. 3 beats. 4. I can do that. Then I'll think about coming. He clears his throat, the sound a man makes when he's swallowing something that isn't food. Your mother's things, he says. They're still here. I move them back to the shelf. My breath catches. I press the phone against my ear. Thank you, Dad. The blue one, he says and stops. Starts again. The blue butterfly. The one from Staunton. It was her favorite. He knows. He knows which one was her favorite. He's known all along. He just never said it. Never showed it, never once let me see that he was paying attention. It's mine too, I say. I know. The call ends. Not warm, not cold, honest. A 61-year-old man and his 29-year-old daughter learning to speak the same language for the first time. Thanksgiving. 4 months after the dinner that changed everything. I make the drive again. 4 hours, same highway, same exits, same church marquees with their rotating wisdom. But this time, the box of butterflies isn't in my car. They're still on my windowsill in Richmond, catching the morning light, where they belong. I pull into the driveway. Garrett's truck is here, parked to one side, leaving room for me. A small thing, a deliberate one. The front door opens before I knock. Dad stands there, and for a second, neither of us moves. Then he holds out a glass of water. Here, long drive. I take it. Our fingers don't touch, but he doesn't turn away. Inside, Claire and Garrett are in the kitchen. Garrett is washing sweet potatoes, sleeves rolled up, suds on his forearms. He looks up when I walk in and nods. Not the casual big brother nod, but the careful kind. The one that says I'm trying. Claire wipes her hands on a towel and hugs me. Lily made you a new card. It's on the counter. Grandma Margot is in the living room, wrapped in a blanket Aunt June brought. The table is already set. By Garrett, Claire tells me. The Pattersons arrive at 5 o'clock. Dad walks them to the living room, and I hear his voice carry through the hall. You remember my daughter Thea? A pause. I hold my breath. She's a pediatric. He slows down. I can almost see the post-it in his head, the one he wrote 6 weeks ago. Rehabilitation specialist. Bill Patterson nods. That's a real calling. Dad is quiet for one beat. Then, it is. 2 words. No trophy. No halftime speech. Just a 61-year-old man standing in his living room saying something true about his daughter for the first time. On the bookshelf behind him, the glass butterflies catch the lamplight. I don't know if my father will ever fully change. People don't rewrite 30 years of habit because of one dinner. He might slip back. He might introduce me wrong again at Christmas, or forget the word specialist and say therapist instead, or worse, say nothing at all. But I know this. I'm not going to wait for him anymore. I used to think being seen meant being praised, that if my father could just once say the right words in the right order in front of the right people, something inside me would finally click into place. I carried that belief for 29 years, and it weighed more than any box of glass butterflies. The children I work with, they see me every day. Not as a daughter, not as a volunteer, but as the person who shows up when it hurts and stays until it doesn't. Marcus held a spoon last week by himself. His mother stood in the doorway and sobbed into her hands. Oliver said his first full sentence in therapy yesterday. Can we do it again? 4 words that meant more than any speech my father ever gave. If you're sitting at a table where no one sees you, where you cook the food and carry the plates and smile through introductions that erase you, it's okay to stand up, not to storm out, not to scream, just to say, I'm here, I matter, and I won't pretend otherwise. My mother knew. She always knew. And she wrote it down, every name, every date, every small victory, so that one day, even if she wasn't here, the proof would be, I'm Thea Dixon. I help children walk, and I finally learned to walk away from the table where I was invisible. That's my story. If it made you feel something, really feel it, I'd love to hear yours. Drop a comment and tell me about the moment you decided you weren't going to be invisible anymore. And if you haven't had that moment yet, maybe today is the day. Hit subscribe if you want more stories like this one. Check the description. I've linked a few more that I think you'll connect with. Wherever you're watching from, whatever time it is there, thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.